All right, welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today I'm going to be talking about the Rams draft class and UDFA class from the 2024 season. I'm going to give a grade for each of those. I think it's time. It's not a full season, but I really wanted to get into this. I want to give props where props is due. But yeah, before we dive into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is BetUS. You can get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit using promo code YouTube150. It's going to get you a 150% bonus match on your first deposit and 125% on your next two using YouTube150. Always be sure to bet responsibly. Okay, so I want to talk about the draft class, and we're going to start from the top. Pick 119. That's it. First round, 19th pick. Jared Verse. This Rams team tried to trade up to get Brock Bowers and tried to trade up at one point to get Byron Murphy. Neither happened, okay? And sometimes, such is life. Things that you hope for, you shoot for the stars, and you don't get there. And that happens. But the Rams, sometimes the best move that you make is the one you don't make. And that's what ended up happening with Jared Verse out of FSU. Jared Verse is a UAlbany transfer from Division I AA that goes to FSU and immediately becomes one of the best pass rushers in the country. The Rams stay at 19, the same pick that they had. They haven't had it since 2005, and it's the first time they had a first-round pick since 2016. Now, they stayed there. And they made a selection for a player out of Florida State, exactly what they did in 2005 when they took unfortunate draft bust Alex Barron at guard. They took him there, well, tackle technically. They took him there, and he has become overnight a sensation. He's the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. The only one that's really on his tail, you could say, is his teammate Braden Fisk, also from Florida State, who we're going to be talking about in a little bit. They clearly had a lot more luck this time around drafting a Florida State player than they did the last time. But it's not just luck. Jared Verse has what it takes to translate to the NFL. Jared Verse has changed my entire outlook on edge defenders going into the draft. The reason being, you can have all your moves, you can have your speed, but nothing translates more to the NFL than that bull rush, than that power rush. When you're a power rusher and you're playing in Power 5 conferences and you're moving SEC and these big-time Big Ten offensive linemen and you're knocking them on their ass, that is going to translate to the next level. And guess what? For Jared Verse, it has. He knocked a guy by the name of Jordan Mailata, who was once a 7th-round pick that people knew as, I think he did some rugby or whatever. But regardless, this was a project who ended up becoming a top tackle in the league. Jared Verse knocked him down, okay? Jared Verse pancaked him, not the other way around. This is the power. This is the work ethic. This is the motor that Jared Verse presents. So I give this pick an A+ because I think if you did a redraft, okay, but by the way, he's third in pressures in the league right now. If you did a redraft of this entire draft, he's going top 5. The only reason he's not going number 1 overall is because every team that needs a quarterback would take a quarterback. That's that. But for being the first-round pick since Jared Goff and helping replace Aaron Donald, which was almost you would say, an impossible task for Verse to come away with, and for the Rams to come away with, I'm really impressed. So Jared Verse, number 8, V8, Darth Vader, whatever you want to call him, he's already one of the best pass rushers in the league, 3rd in pressures, like I mentioned. His win rate is insane, and he just continues to get better and better each week. He still struggles with the tackling, sure, but when are you going to get a player on his level, at his caliber, at 19? We thought at the time Jared Verse falling to 19 was unlikely. We thought this was a top 15 talent, but he actually was drafted after other edge defenders. He was drafted after a Byron Murphy. He was drafted after Laiatu Latu, and he was drafted after Dallas Turner. Okay? So, yes, Jared Verse, absolutely A+. Moving on to pick 39 overall in the second round, the Rams traded up. They moved up 12 spots with the Carolina Panthers, offered their second round pick to secure a combine darling, Braden Fisk. Fisk is somebody that did not play his whole career at Florida State, but got that 1 year to play with Jared Verse as a transfer there and really lit it up. He is part of the initiative that the Rams had to take Verse and Fisk and replace Aaron Donald, because nothing says more respect for a player than replacing him with two other guys. It reminds you how good Aaron Donald is. As a matter of fact, Fisk is an elite athlete, and I think that he kind of resembles a little bit of what you're missing with Aaron Donald. Obviously, he'll never be Aaron Donald. There's never going to be another Aaron Donald, but Braden Fisk has looked better and better each week. He's dominant. He is by far the most dominant interior defensive lineman in this draft class. And he also has great chemistry with Jared Verse. But if you were to redraft Fisk in a redraft, okay, where is he going? Tell me he doesn't go top 10. Tell me that with confidence. I don't think you can. So for that reason, I understand they gave up that second round pick in 2025, but who cares? When you can get a guy like this in the second round who probably should have been a first round talent anyway, A+. So back-to-back A+s for the LA Rams in their 2024 draft. Next up is Blake Corum. Okay, Corum was 83rd overall in the third round. This is a guy that just had a nose for the end zone. He scored a lot of touchdowns. He ran for a lot of yards at Michigan. Obviously, this is an incomplete grade. I want to preface that because Corum has barely gotten a chance to really play. However, in the limited opportunities that I've seen him, I see a legitimate starting running back in Blake Corum. I think the grade, it's not going to be as high as some people want, but I don't think it's an indictment on who he is as a player or, who he is just in general. But again, he hasn't played much. He's a third round pick. I expect third rounders to start most years. However, as you get better as a team, sometimes those third rounders don't become starters. They become high quality backups and key contributors, where now you have to create some opportunities and have some different sub package roles for them. I think Blake Corum is just reaching what he can become. He had 8 carries last week. He might have more against the Bills this week. We'll find out. But I think he's really good. I think he lacks the explosion that you would have liked to see as kind of go in combination with Kyren Williams. So that's the only issue I have there. But if you redrafted Blake Corum today, I don't think he goes higher, but I don't think he goes lower. He might go higher. Maybe a team has seen enough of him to say that, but I think he's going to be a very good player. My only thing here is that I think adding another cornerback, an explosive running back, or another linebacker could have gone a long way. This was not my favorite pick in the draft, but I do like the player more than the pick. I'm going to give it a B-. I think that's a pretty high grade, all things considered, with the fact he's barely played. But I think he is going to be a key contributor down the stretch of this season. And I think he has a chance to make this a 70-30 to 60-40 backfield next season, because we've seen in the past, there's been a lot of talented backs. You have a guy like, say, D'Angelo Williams, and then you have a Jonathan Stewart already, and those guys can coexist. We've seen it in the past, and I do think it could end up something like that. I just think Kyren Williams is so much better than people realize, and so that is my only thing that's holding me back from believing that they'll get to that level. Also, they're very similar, so not a lot of diversification there, but I'm going to give a B- to Blake Corum. At pick 99 in the third round, Cameron Kinchins out of Miami U. Now, if we did this before the bye week, I would have given Cam Kinchins, I don't know what I would have given him. I probably would have given him a C, just because he was the younger draft pick of this draft, one of the younger players. And he just wasn't ready for the NFL, or at least he didn't look that before the bye. I think that you just saw some clear like the game's too quick right now. He wasn't playing with confidence. He was thinking too much. You could see it. There were some costly plays against the Cardinals that allowed that to balloon into a 41-10 outburst. It wasn't just on him, but he had something to do with it. There was that, of course, that hit in the Lions game that drew a 15-yard penalty that hurt. So he had a couple of those instances, or a few of those instances, where you're like, yeah, he's not quite where I want him to be. But be that as it may, I think he's put together a really nice comeback rookie campaign following the bye week. I think his ball skills, we knew they would clearly translate to the next level. They definitely have. He's bailed the Rams out, of course, the pick 6. I think he has a chance to be a franchise safety here. I do. I don't know if the Rams will pay him to be that, but I think he does have that chance. And I think based on the small sample size you've had a chance to really see him have since the bye, Cam Kinchens would go a bit higher than where he was drafted in a redraft. He would go higher than 99th. I'll go as far as to say he could have gone late second, maybe a 64th overall or something like that. So that's where I'm at on him. I think the stock is definitely up, and he's so young. The fact that he's already playing at this level and he's really recovered in his rookie year, having the bumps and bruises he had at the beginning, says a lot about the player he can be. So I'm going to give this an A. I think this is an A pick. I liked it a lot when they got him. I like it more now. He stepped up. Now moving on, pick 154 in the 5th round is Brennan Jackson from Washington State. I give him a B. He's basically gotten no chance, but the fact is, he's a 5th round pick. He made the 53-man roster. He's playing reps in games. Not every single game he's active, but some of the games he's active. And in some of those instances, you can see he's everything the Rams want in a player. And, he just hasn't gotten that opportunity. So on film, you can see why they like him. It's hard to give an idea when he's going to emerge. And unfortunately, I do think his job could be to replace Michael Hoyt in that cheetah package I keep bringing up and I'm obsessed with. If you redrafted, Jackson is going to stay right around this range. I don't think he's done enough where teams have been paying attention where they could be like, yeah, I would definitely pick him in the 4th or 3rd or whatever. He made the roster, so I think, he still proved that he's around a 5th rounder at least. But I just don't think he's done enough to move himself up there. So I'm going to give him a B. I think really this is more so, this draft pick wasn't about just this year. It's beyond. And I'm not out on Brennan Jackson at all. I just don't think he's really gotten the opportunity. They don't need him to have the opportunity because they have other guys there. You have Byron Young, who you drafted in the 3rd round last year. Jared Verse. Michael Hoyt comes back, right? You have your interior defensive line. You don't need him to come through right now. He can be eased in. He missed all of preseason. Now, I think they held him out, to be fair, but they did hold him out. He's banged up to start the season. So he hasn't really gotten a fair shake. For that reason, I think the B is fair. Moving on to pick 196. This is Tyler Davis, interior defensive lineman out of Clemson. I was not the biggest fan of this pick. I thought there were better players available, but I'm here to tell you, Tyler Davis gets me. I hope I didn't say Tyler Johnson. I might have said Tyler Johnson. I've already forgotten if I did or not. Tyler Davis, okay, from Clemson, gets me really excited about his future. I think he's tied right now. He's tied for 3rd among all rookies in 14 interior defensive line stops. That's tied with Byron Murphy right now. That's the type of player you're getting. Byron Murphy's a starter. Ty Davis is the guy they bring in as, somebody to get your legs, off the bench. He's in a rotation. But every time this guy, and he does not get a lot of playing time, but he makes the most out of it. He flashes on tape. I think just his close to the ball carrier, he's explosive. Short area quickness and all. I really like his game. I like his work ethic. You can see it. And I really like his motor. So he hasn't even played 200 snaps yet, and you've already seen that type of, what he can be. I think he can work his way in the starting lineup next year. I don't think he's going to necessarily start. I think they might bring back Bobby Brown. If they don't, he could replace him. But I think he's definitely going to get more opportunities next year. They really like him, it seems. If you redrafted and teams are paying attention to what Ty Davis is doing on a week-to-week basis when they give him the opportunities, he could go as high as the third round and maybe push late second down the stretch of this season. A redraft right now, to me, he's a third-round pick, and I was absolutely wrong about him, and I want to make that very clear that I did not think this was a great pick. However, he's looking like he's quite the baller. Okay, we go to the sixth round now. A lot of people are going to hate this. Joshua Carty, Stanford, I'm giving him an A. Carty has had his ups and downs with this team. I get it. But I just think this team has gone through straight mush piles to find him. And believe it or not, I think we're looking at Greg Zuerlein 2.0. Zuerlein struggled in the season. I think he finished around the same as his field goal percentage is now below 80% in his rookie year. Carty's going to be the franchise kicker. I really feel confident in that. I think he's shown off the leg. He's missed 1 from 50 plus. I think the issue appears to be the far left hash, as my friend Blaine Grisak brought up on Twitter. I think right now that is an issue. I think there's been some issues with the snaps as well. But you're picking a starting kicker in the 6th round. To me, that's going to be an automatic A if he made the team and he's still your starting kicker and he's halfway decent. I think he's much better than the percentage would show, and I really like Carty, so I'm sticking by him. I'm going to give them an A because that's the kicker I wanted, and I think they got the best kicker in the draft. It just might take some time with him, but I really do like him. All right, 6th round, we're sticking here. 213, Jordan Whittington out of Texas. I'm giving this an A+, guys. I really am. Whittington is exactly who I thought he was going to be. I was convinced this guy could be wide receiver 3 after this season. I haven't changed my opinion on that. Almost 100-yard performance with everyone out, against the Packers. Then he goes down and they lose. Great blocking receiver right away. Tendencies that rookies don't always have, but he's willingness to stick his face in the fan, take on contact, and actually block and kick ass doing it says a lot. He's a great kick returner, which we found out. Great route runner, led the league in separation when he was getting offensive snaps. He's underutilized. But I think what is happening right now is he might get some opportunities down the stretch. I think they like where they're at. But I think really he was brought in. He's going to replace Demarcus Robinson next year. That's what's going to happen. He'll take that rollover. If you redrafted everyone, okay, there is no way Jordan Whittington makes it to the 6th round. I think he'd go as high as the 3rd round. Teams have seen his upside. There's film out there to attest for this. The big issue with him was the 22 games that he missed, but he changed his diet. He figured things out. He stayed healthy for the most part. He's a very good athlete, well built. I just think that a guy like that isn't leaving the 3rd round. So I think with the upside he possesses, he'd go in the 3rd round. He's probably not going the 2nd or 1st. I did say this is the closest thing you're going to get in this draft to Puka Nacua, and I meant it. He didn't get the opportunity Puka Nacua did, but the limited opportunities he got, you immediately saw this guy can be a contributor for this team, and he could be a plus receiver. So anytime you get a guy like that at pick 213, you have to feel good. A+ pick by the Rams, and got to give him a lot of credit there. Pick 217 is Bo Limmer, also going to be an A+. The Rams got potentially their franchise center in the 6th round, and this guy tested perfectly. He was in the 100 percentile for centers, according to RAS. Limmer has work to do in pass pro. He does, but he's a dog in the run game. He's given up fewer sacks than Cooper Beebe, and as many as Graham Barton, who was a first-round talent, and Zach Frazier. If you redrafted Limmer right now, you can't tell me that he wouldn't be at least a 3rd-round pick and maybe even push into the 2nd round. And the Rams got him at pick 217. So not only did they get a good player, but they got a good athlete too. These are the type of guys that get overdrafted. Bo Limmer deserved to be picked on day 2 or at least late day 3. But to fall to the 6th round, the Rams really made out well, and they can thank their lucky stars that a certain division rival passed him up. So got to give A+ to Bo Limmer. You just don't find draft picks like that in the 6th round unless you're talking about the Rams, who just continuously find these type of players late on day 3. All right, last pick in the NFL draft for the Rams, 7th round, 254. It's KT Leviston, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's an A, non-applicable. And the reason I say that is I'm not going to draft this guy. I'm not going to grade this guy when he has never played. I never once saw him. I didn't go to training camp. I live in upstate New York, so I didn't go to training camp. I didn't once see him play in preseason. He has not played in the regular season. He spent the majority of his rookie campaign on IR. But at the same time, they cared enough about this 7th round pick to not only keep him on the 53, but they kept him and designated him to return off of IR with one of their tough and going quickly 8 spots that you can have to take somebody off IR. So Leviston's story is not written. I think this is somebody that can definitely contribute, be one of the top depth pieces on the offensive line, or carve his way into the starting role. They really liked him when they drafted him. I just can't, in good faith, give a grade to this guy when he's never played in front of my eyes. I can't find. You could say what you will about Kansas State and what he did there, but as far as since he's been drafted, he has not contributed to the Rams. He's also not done anything to hurt the Rams. So it's a neutral grade for me. Nothing there. No harm, no foul. Overall grade is an A for the Rams. Do they get an A+? Maybe they should. But I think having that pick of Blake Corum in the 3rd round does lower this from an A+ to an A. I think it's fair. I think I was definitely fair with this team. I just do think that Blake Corum pick in the 3rd round, having these other guys make up for it, but an A+ draft, to me, you don't have any, like, everybody is contributing. Maybe I'm a little bit over the top here. Maybe it should be an A+, but I think an A is a very fair grade. The Rams absolutely slayed this draft. They found several impact players, key contributors, to help bolster their roster from now and years to come. And I think the big thing about the draft is that if you draft well, you're provided with the cap flexibility combined with the overall talent factor. And to me, this is what the Rams are so good at. This was another masterclass by Les Snead and his team. They should feel very good, I'm sure they do, about the 2023 class, but just as good, if not better, about the 2024 class. This was probably the most important draft class in the Sean McVay, Les Snead era because you were losing a all-time franchise league-level player in Aaron Donald, and you came away with flying colors and you grabbed all those guys. You had needs that you didn't go after, corner, linebacker. You tackled them, at least some of them, you tackled them in UDFA, so I do want to give them a pass in that sense, but I do think that, again, while I really like Blake Corum, I think there was a chance for them to maybe get a little bit better value there. So, again, 100% A draft, great draft from Les Snead's crew, and now we move on to the last part of this video where I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the UDFAs. Thor Nystrom, friend of mine on Twitter, a friend of the football community on Twitter, former KU alum, got to give the guy a lot of credit. Ranked the Rams 24th on Fantasy Pros in all of UDFA's classes. Now, I thought he had a really good point with this. Basically, to summarize it, he's ranking them based on like where they would be on a board. And this is important. And if you guys aren't aware, this is what the Rams are. So the Rams got Jalen McCullough out of Tennessee, a safety that didn't have good numbers testing-wise, but was just a good football player. He's now finding his role on the defense, whether he's a starter or a really, really key contributor. He's playing a lot. And so you got to give them and you got to give him a lot of props. Jalen McCullough is number 1 on this list. Number 2 is Josh Wallace, who has been in these games. He's been in the trenches as a slot corner on the boundary at times, playing special teams. They found him through undrafted rookie free agency, the Michigan Wolverine there. Then you have Omar Speights. I just made a isolated video on Omar Speights, how high I am. I think they found an absolute gem with him. They've done it in the past. It's not really a shock, but Omar Spates is really good. He's really good. I think he just had the best grade of any PFF grade for any player in week 13. So I see it on tape, and then PFF is telling me that I'm seeing the right thing. Yeah, he's really good. LSU linebacker, transferred from Oregon State. Did he run the best 40 time? Is he the most athletic? Is he the tallest? No. This is what the Rams want to see, and I'll get to it more, but you have him currently on the 53. That's 3 UDFAs on the 53-man roster out of this 24th UDFA class. 4th UDFA on the 53 is Justin Diedick from USC. So the interior offensive lineman from USC, I thought he had a really good preseason, but didn't really get the opportunity because they were really trying to see what they had in guys like Logan Bruss and, some other guys on the offensive line. So he didn't play as much as maybe he should have, but I thought you saw some really good things out of him. Bo Limmer, of course, took a lot of his reps as well. But Diedick actually started some games this year. So not only is he the 4th representative from this UDFA class on the 53, but he also started games and did so at a pretty decent clip. So I got to give Justin Diedick a lot of credit there, and the Rams a lot of credit for finding these guys. Number 5 is Marshall's linebacker, Elias Neal, who is no longer on the 53-man roster, but he was. He's on, I believe, the practice squad now. Neal's a really good special teams contributor, and he was one of the rare ones that I don't think many people saw coming, going from preseason, having some standout performances to making this 53. So that's the 5th guy. And the 6th guy is Charles Woods, the SMU defensive back, who did just get cut the other day to bring in Emmanuel Forbes, but he was brought back onto the practice squad. They like him a lot. I heard a lot of good things about him and Josh Wallace during the offseason. So that's 6 players. And then they added Cameron Lampkin, the Washington State defensive back, to this 53-man roster. Of course, there were injuries, but he came off the practice squad to add. So you've had 7 of this class. I think they signed 16 guys, and 7 of them made the team. You found 3 defensive contributors. You found offensive line depth, a guy that even started on the offensive line. This is an A grade for the UDFA class. They have stuck to their style. This is what I want to get through people's heads. They go after football players before athletes, okay? So they invested in athleticism when they were drafting and playing with their draft capital. When it meant a little bit more, when the stakes are a little bit higher, they do care about the athletic profile. They do. However, UDFA market's a little bit different. This is why a lot of those guys, you might get frustrated. Oh, your favorite prospect, you probably should have gotten drafted, tested really well at the combine or the pro day, and he doesn't get signed by the Rams. And you're like, why did they let him go? That was stupid. And he ends up being a good player. And you're like, why did that happen? Well, the Rams zero in on the best football players left, not the best prospects. It's why they went after guys like McCullough. Do you think McCullough is the most explosive athlete? Absolutely not. Some of the guys that didn't make this team, right? Sam Wiglis. There were other wide receivers that were way more sexier options that ran better 40 times, that stood 6'5". But the Rams have a type, and it's worked out for them. They've found guys going back before. They've found guys like Rodney McLeod in the past, right? You find guys by focusing on who can play football. Otherwise, there are plenty of examples. I'm not going to zero in and call out anybody in particular. There are plenty of examples of an athlete that is just an athlete and played football at the college level decently well, but when it came to the NFL, the game couldn't translate. So, what would you rather have? A bunch of dudes with really good 40 times, really good 3-cone drills, all of that, or Omar Spates, Jalen McCullough, and whoever else that's going to make the 53-man roster. It might even end up being a starter for the time being, because this is how the Rams are operating. When things get tough and you have to put your neck on the line with an NFL draft, you're more likely to care about the very small details. But when you're doing the whole UDFA thing and everyone can sign wherever they want, well, now you're going to let these guys fall, because Mr. Safety that just ran a 4.8, and in your mind, he is worth a 3rd-round pick as a football player alone and will translate and will be great for the locker room and will fit the culture and all of that. but he ran a 4.8, you know that a team that obsesses over 40 time is not going to take him. They're not going to sign him. And that is what the Rams are doing. So the Rams have their way or the highway, and their way has worked more often than not. So I got to give them a lot of credit. That's what this video was about, breaking down the UDFA and the draft class. Because again, I just think with the draft class, we do all these grades, but we never talk about the undrafted rookie free agents. And I thought that the Rams, initially, I thought the Rams got some more low profile guys that just were less likely to sign because they were camp bodies, because they felt good about their 53-man roster. That couldn't be further from the truth. This was a team that literally told you when they got rid of Ernest Jones, and, you know, of course, Sean McVay comes out and says you got to earn it every year. Well, they backed that up, because these type of players that you're talking about, like a Jalen McCullough and a Josh Wallace, they might be DQ, disqualified, not even in the race to make some of these teams. But the Rams didn't really take favorites here. They didn't just assume, okay, this guy's really good for us last year, he'll be really good for us this year. They gave these other guys opportunities, and that's what we see here with this team. So, in conclusion, I think the Rams have continued to knock it out of the park with the draft and the UDFAs. This is one of the better UDFA classes that they've had. I don't think it's really talked about nearly enough. Getting an undrafted rookie free agent to play special teams and be under 53 the whole year is a win. But finding 3 key contributors and finding offensive line depth and finding guys like Omar Speights that could end up being franchise players, could end up being your franchise linebacker, it's very different. That's not normally something you find. So the guys who are in charge of that are doing a hell of a job. You got to give them their credit. And this is why the Rams are 6-6, despite the fact a lot of people thought that they might not be very good without Aaron Donald. This is why the Rams haven't really gone away. I know they had a bad 2022 season, but, you know, really aside from that, Sean McVay, Les Snead, since 2017, they've been in the hunt every single year. And, you know, again, besides 2022, and I think a lot of that is because not only have they done a nice job of acquiring talent by any means necessary, but they've been smart and they've stuck to their approach that has worked instead of trying to do some other things that maybe isn't working for other teams. That's my thought. Let me know what you think about the video. I appreciate you guys watching, and be sure to check out today's sponsor, BetUS. Use promo code YouTube150 to get 150% bonus match on your first deposit and 125% on your next 2. Be sure to bet responsibly. I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks. Just want to let you guys know that we are doing all 22 live breakdowns every single week, Rams football related, over on Kick exclusively. That's kick.com/JKBogan if you want to get in on the action. And if you want a little something more than just football, I also do gaming streams as well. So check that out. Link is in the description, and hope to see you there. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.